Hi, it's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China. Welcome to another edition of Q&A with a Coach. Today we have a question from our friend Raul, who says, I am an aspiring martial artist and I would like the opportunity to train with you someday. Raul, I would love the opportunity to train with you too. So, if you ever have the opportunity, stop by Shanghai, preferably after this coronavirus thing passes, and not before. Or maybe one day I'll come and visit you. We shall see, my friends. But I appreciate that. Appreciate that a lot. It means a lot to me. Raul says, I've learned a lot from your videos and appreciate the hard work that you put into them. Thank you. My question is about self-defense. I was doing some research online and came across a guy by the name of Charlie Zelenoff. Oh, Charlie Z. Oh man, are we going there today? I guess we are. Let's see what Raul has to say about Charlie Z. This guy's clearly unstable. Yes, agreed. And dangerous to people. He goes around assaulting all kinds of people, from professional fighters to everyday folks. My question to you is, how would an average person with no fighting experience or training defend himself against somebody like this? This man is clearly not in the right state of mind. He tells people he is going to show them some boxing moves or just do some light touch sparring with them, and then he just assaults them. It is scary that these types of people are out there, so what would your advice be to the average person? Is there a clear technique or approach someone could learn quickly and carry with themselves to utilize if they come in contact with a disturbed person like this? Okay, if you run into exactly that scenario, if Charlie Z or someone like him approaches you in that same context, you always have the power to just say no. So a lot of what Charlie Z did, he would go to these gyms, not boxing gyms, not even MMA gyms, just like weights and treadmills gyms, like a Gold's Gym or a 24-Hour Fitness. And he would approach somebody who was by themselves and say, hey, do you want to do some really light, friendly touch sparring? I've got these gloves, nice safe gloves. Understand, gloves are not a safety device. They're a weapon. They protect your hands so you can punch harder. Unless you are well adept at light contact sparring, and don't trust that a stranger is, or has your best interest in mind, because generally they don't. And sometimes Charlie would offer like $50 to these guys, like, hey, let's do some light sparring, I'll pay you $50 for it. And he would film it, and then when they weren't looking or had their backs turned or something like that, he would just cold cock them, just sucker punch them, to use the modern version of that expression, as opposed to how Jack Dempsey used it 100 years ago. There's been some semantic drift between now and then. Anyway, so yeah, Raul put it straight for you. He just straight up assaulted people. And Charlie would have two pairs of gloves. One would have the padding removed. He would use that one. He had his loaded gloves. And then he would give the normal gloves to the other guy. And his goal was to hurt them, to feed his ego and put these videos up and somehow convince himself that he was the greatest boxer, the greatest puncher of all time, or some nonsense like that, when clearly he is some delusional punk who deserves nobody's attention. He went so far as to start talking trash about Deontay Wilder's daughter. Said some horrible, horrible things that got the boxer's attention. And Mr. Wilder took Charlie up on his challenge and beat the snot out of him. Knocked him down. Charlie tries to run away. Mr. Wilder runs after him like, hey, I'm not done yet. Get back here. But even Floyd Mayweather Sr., I don't know how. I do not know how Charlie Zelenoff managed to get in the ring with a legend like Floyd Mayweather Sr. and convince him to do a light, friendly sparring session or teach him something or whatever. But, yeah, under false pretenses, Charlie Z goes in there. Floyd Mayweather Sr., this older gentleman, is expecting, just basically a shadow sparring session. And Charlie Z goes nuts and tries to knock his head off. Bad idea. bad idea, because everybody in that group jumps on him. And Charlie Z escapes by the skin of his teeth anyway. So, if you are in that exact scenario, if a stranger approaches you, and you're not in a boxing gym, and they want to spar, don't spar with people you don't know. Unless you are a professional fighter, specifically hiring a sparring partner to come and help you train for a fight. Even then, scout them out first. Know who you're getting in the ring with. That's a dangerous game, guys. Now, if you are at a boxing gym or a Muay Thai gym, MMA gym, any type of combat sports gym, sometimes you gotta be picky about your sparring partners. I made a video just recently that got a lot of angry comments, where this guy said that in his religion, it is against his religion for men to touch women and women to touch men that they are not married to. And so he had some conflict in his gym with the instructor because he refused to roll, do jiu-jitsu, grappling with a woman. And there was so many people were like, everybody should train with everybody no matter what. And I'm a big proponent of the idea that you should always have the right to say no, no matter what the reason, whether it's religious or personal or whatever. Think of the stupidest reason in the world. You know what? I support your right to believe that. Think of the most intelligent reason in the world. I support your right to believe that. You have the right to choose your training partners because it is your body. It is your life and your health on the line. When we spar, we are sharing not just information, not just technique. We're literally sharing our body and the potential to be seriously injured. Even light, friendly sparring can lead to catastrophic injury. Man, my old assistant coach, John Jung, man, wonderful, wonderful human being, doing a very, very light throwing drill like a judo technique, ended up tearing like every major ligament in his knee of the standing leg. Now imagine what can happen when bad intentions are involved. You can die. So make sure to spar with people who have your best interest in mind. People who have your success in mind. When you spar, you want people who want to lift you up rather than tear you down. I know that might sound like a contradiction of terms because in a fight, your opponent will try to tear you down. But you need people who will lift you up and push you to be strong enough to withstand that kind of pressure, as opposed to people who are simply trying to physically harm you. Or more specifically, people who will physically harm you. Just say no. Reserve the right to say no. Nobody has a right to your body. I've told this story a number of times on this channel. I'll tell it again. I had these two students from Russia, tough guys, one a little tougher than the other. And they were sparring, and one of them got the better of the other, and the other would look kind of down. The tougher guy comes up, puts his arm around his friend's shoulder and says, "You must learn to love yourself. You must learn to love your own body. Because when you love yourself, when you truly love yourself, when you love your own body, you will never, ever let anyone hurt it for any reason." Love yourself. Do you remember when we were children, at least when I was a child, adults would always tell children, don't take candies from strangers. Don't do it. If a creepy guy in a van that you don't know holds out $1 and says, "Hey kid, get in my van, I'll give you this dollar," don't do it. If somebody you know that comes up to you, somebody you don't know comes up to you at a 24-hour fitness, gives you $50 and says, "Hey, come here. Let's do some light sparring. Here's some money. Come on." You don't know him. You don't know what his intentions are. Just say no. Now, for competent fighters, this is a different thing. For Deontay Wilder, man, he knew for a fact that he would kick Charlie Zelenoff's butt. He knew he could kill that young man. And he showed an enormous amount of restraint in spite of the beating that he dealt out. From time to time, I have the experience of people coming to my gym and wanting to show me up. Usually after watching this fight I did about 10 years ago, my worst fight ever. Had this fight in Singapore against Leandro Issa. And Jerry over at Fight Commentary Breakdowns, for some reason, has this weird habit of putting the worst performances I have ever done up on his channel and doing commentary on them. Shout out to you, Jerry. So a lot of people see this, and they're like, oh, that guy sucks. I can't believe it. He lost to a third-degree black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion. Yeah, I would have done better than that. I'm going to go to his gym and show him up in front of all of his students. Man, not understanding anything about dehydration or whatever, or how jiu-jitsu works, or how fights work, or how training works. And sometimes, a few times, I've had delusional people come over, try to show me up, like, yeah, I saw your fight. Like, which one? I've had a lot of them. And so we get in the ring and I spar, and I know how to fight. I know how to handle myself. Generally, these guys leave humbler than when they came in. Although delusional people generally have a hard time learning anything, as we could see from Charlie Zelenoff, taking beatings from professional fighters that he tried to surprise, and still not learning his lesson. So, yeah, if you're a professional fighter, if you're a gym owner, if you're a competent coach, you have probably handled situations like this. If you have, tell me about it in the comments down below. I'm interested in hearing your stories. I remember one time there was this dude, he had a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He had been training for about 3 years. And I believe he saw that video, that fight with Leandro Issa from 10 years ago. And somehow had this crazy idea. I am going to go to this gym and I'm going to tap him out in front of everybody. So we grappled. I agreed to grapple with him. After about a minute, I caught him in a triangle choke. He tapped. I extended my hand. I said, let's roll again. He looked mad. I'm like, hey, man, it's okay. Let's just roll again. It's no big deal. Fuming, anger words. Stormed out of the gym. Never saw him again. Don't know if he learned a lesson or not, but, man. Never underestimate anyone, and that includes crazy people at the gym who may not seem particularly crazy, who offer you $50 to spar on camera with them in the locker room. Thank you for watching. Now get out there and train.